What's going on, guys? Welcome to Garage 23 and episode 5, 6 of the S14 build. The S14 anti-build restoration thing. Today we are going to be going back to the suspension and the coilovers because some of you may or may not have noticed in the coilover install video that the pillowball top mounts on the coilovers were a little worn out, and after driving it for a little bit, it actually even makes like a clunking kind of noise over certain bumps if they're deep enough. So that's pretty annoying. And I kind of figured we'd have to change them anyway because one of the bolts was seized in one of the other pillow balls. So I was kind of hoping we could get away without replacing them because I managed to save that pillow ball and extract that bolt, but they're pretty worn out. So we're gonna have to replace them today. Let's go. All right, so these are the replacements that we got. It's the entire top mount, and we got these for about $80, which was the price for just one singular pillow ball unit that we could find from any other place because these weren't available anymore. So yeah, I figured this was a good option. I mean, it's generic Chinese stuff, but so is that. So should be fine. At least these aren't all wobbly and worn out. So first thing we got to do is, actually I loosened this to check if this is even the same diameter. So if we're lucky, this will fit in the new one. Yeah. All right, so that's a good start. So we know this is gonna just bolt straight onto these coilovers. So we can start disassembling this and replace them. Okay, first step is gonna be to get our wheel off to get to the coilover. Then we can take the top mount off. Really? All right, next step is to take the bolts off the top mount and drop the coilover down. Then we had already loosened the center bolt that holds the pillow ball. Expected this to drop down more. Nope. Okay, we gotta take the coilover off. That kind of sucks. So we'll get our brake clip off. Brake line out of the way. I think these were 19s. Yeah. Yeah. So you guys can see all the, I think that's like the Teflon material or something that's gotten squeezed out of the inside of the pillow ball. So it's like very loose in there. And then it's also, I don't know if you'll be able to tell. So there's like some actual play in there too. So that sound when you go over a bump is a lot louder and it's really annoying. So that's going out and this nice shiny new one is going back in, which you can see has no play no movement at all whatsoever. So that's gonna go on there. It's so shiny, I kind of feel like cleaning this nut up a little bit so at least it's not so gross looking. So let's do that first. All right, so this is a pretty specific kind of insert here, so we can't just get a new nut and use that. So I want to polish it up at least a little bit so it doesn't look so crusty compared to the brand new top mount. So I want to put it in the drill press, but the thread on this one is too large to fit in the drill press, so I'm just going to use this smaller bolt and nut and just kind of lock it in place. And then we'll use that to put in the drill press. And we'll get some steel wool and turn it on. Yeah, it's a little better. Need to get those flat sides a little more. All right, now we can put it back. Then tighten it up. And as you can see, this one doesn't have any play in it. It's not flopping around at all. So that shouldn't make any noise. Now we gotta put our brake line back in place and put the clip back on and the wheel back on. All right. Now I just gotta do the same thing on the other side. And so one thing I want to add is this part of the job, you kind of need an impact to do, because there's no way you'd really get this top nut off without an impact, because if you try to turn this, it's just going to turn the whole piston inside and it's not going to go anywhere. You'd probably have to like hold onto the piston somehow with like, I don't know, vice grips with like rubber or a shop rag or something in between. I've actually just taken the vice grips and like just grip the very top of the piston, because the very top isn't likely to go all the way into the rest of the shock. So I've done that before, it seemed okay. That's not really the right thing to do. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have an impact at the time, because with this one, it spins fast enough and hard enough that you just get it off like that. All right, that's gonna do it for this episode. It looks like we took care of like all the clunking and weird noises from the front coilovers. The new pillow balls are working pretty well. The spring rates are a little bit harsh. Either that or I think the rear shocks might be blown. It's hard to tell, because on harder bumps, it does seem like it like bounces really quickly. So I'm not sure if that's just, you know, the spring rates being too high or the actual damper being blown. Because I mean, the rear is only 10K, our Ultima is 10K front and rear, and it doesn't feel like that. So that's what makes me think that the shock might be going out. But even with that, it still feels better than it did with the stock blown suspension and the whole floaty, uncertain feeling through the corners and stuff like that. So I think this was a win, especially with how cheap we got these. So that's gonna do it for today. Thanks for joining us, and stay tuned to the next episode.